Hey guys, with Joe Schmidt announcing his Wallabies squad to face off against the All Blacks for the Bledisloe Cup, I thought what better time than now to give you guys my own 23-man squad to face off against the All Blacks in Sydney. Before we do this, make sure to click the like button below, subscribe to our channel, and let me know in the comments below your 23-man squad to face off against the All Blacks. And yeah, just let me know if you think my squad is good as well. Let me know in the comment section. So let's just dive straight into this. So for the front row, this is where I've decided to go with Angus Bell, the number 1, Matt Fazer, number 2, and Alan Toa at the number 3. I believe this is the best front row I think the Wallabies can go with. Again, I have made a change there to what we've normally seen for this Rugby Championship because the Wallabies have decided to go normally with Angus Bell and Tino Tupo as the 2 starters. And don't get me wrong, they've actually done pretty well in that setup, actually, from a scrum standpoint. They actually haven't looked too bad. But I think you have to step it up, really, and make a switch there when you go against the All Blacks because so far, from a scrum standpoint, I'd say the All Blacks have looked pretty good. Again, they did look a bit shaky, you could say, against the Springboks, but I think any team can look a bit shaky when you're facing the world champs. And look, I think just when the All Blacks have players like Ethan DeGroot and Tyler Lomax, it's going to be difficult from a scrum situation to kind of control that. And I think you need a bit of experience. That's the reason why I want Alan Toa included. And I think Angus Bell has actually looked pretty good throughout this Rugby Championship. So I want to keep him in that place for the number 1 jersey. And with Matt Fazer, I think he's really the best option the Wallabies have in terms of the number 2 spot. So I want to stick with him there, the number 2. So the locks then, this is where I've decided to go with Nick Frost, number 4, and Josh Canham at the number 5. I'm going to switch here, and the reason behind this is because I think the Wallabies just need to step it up, really, when it comes towards those set pieces, particularly the lineouts. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've actually looked all right, I'd say, from a lineup position, but I think they can do better. And particularly when you're going against the All Blacks, you need to pressure them as much as you can. So I think Nick Frost, he keeps his place. He looked pretty solid, I think, throughout so far for this Rugby Championship. Hasn't made too many errors on that standpoint. I think Jeremy Williams, he was included in last week's game against the Pumas, but I just don't think he did enough to kind of warrant another selection here in terms of starting. So that's why I want to see a new face in here, fresh blood, really. And I think Josh Cannon's the guy that kind of put him in that situation. And he's impressed me so far. I mean, if you're going back towards Super Rugby season, I thought he played some good footy for the Rebels. And again, he did recently sign for the Reds for the upcoming season for Super Rugby. So I think he's a player which I want to see him kind of grow into the game. And why not do it against the All Blacks? I mean, really, it's a good test for him. So I want to see him in this game if possible. So that's the lock pairing I've decided to go with. For the loose forwards, this is where I've gone with Lachlan Sai-Kailoto, the number 6, then Fraser McWright at number 7, and then finish it off Rob Valentini at the number 8. And the reason why I've gone with Lachlan Sai-Kailoto here at the 6 instead of the 5 is because I want to put more pressure on the All Blacks in terms of that set piece, particularly the lineouts, because I can expect the All Blacks to kind of go with a combination of Scott Barrett and maybe Tupo. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they decide to go with 3 locks because Tupo Valles look good, and again you also have the option of Sam Derry if needed. So they have a lot of kind of options there in terms of locks, and I want to put as much pressure on them as I can. So I feel having 3 kind of locks really there with Lachlan Sai-Kailoto, who can play 6, with Nick Frost, who we've already mentioned, and Josh Canham. I think it would be a good kind of battle in terms of those set pieces. So that's why I want him there. And again, Lachlan Sai-Kailoto has looked really good for the Wallabies since he's come back to Australia. So I like him a lot. And then, you have the likes of, Fraser McWright, who, again, dealt with an injury, so he hasn't been available for a while. And again, Carlos Lozano has taken his place. He's actually looked very good in that position. From a defensive standpoint, he's looked probably one of the best action in comp, actually, when you think about it. But I think Fraser McWright just offers something different to Zano. He's just an all-round player, and I think you need a bit more all-round when you're going against the All Blacks. And he's a heck of a player, man. So I want to be included in this side. And then Rob Valentini, again, he could play 6 or 8, but I honestly think, the more I think about it, I think 8 maybe is better position. But at the same time, he does the job well at 6. So I can't really argue with what he does in both positions, but I just want to see him in this place, number 8. It's harsh on Harry Wilson because I think Harry Wilson's looked all right, I'd say, throughout this Rugby Championship. And don't get me wrong, I actually want Harry Wilson to succeed in the Wallabies jersey, but I just think for this particular game, I think Rob Valentini is just more crucial towards the Wallabies setup. So I want to see him in the number 8 jersey. So with the backs then, the 9-10 combination I've selected is Tim McDermott at the 9 and Nolo Oseo at the number 10. I believe this is the best combination that the Wallabies can go with, kind of set themselves up against the All Blacks. I think Ben Donaldson looked all right, I'd say, in that test, against the Pumas last week. But I just don't think he gives you that kind of certainty of calmness when it's needed at times, particularly against the All Blacks. And I think for this particular game in Sydney, you gotta make sure you win it. So I'd rather have someone who's more experienced in that jersey with Noah than Ben. But look, if you want to go full throttle and go for tries, then Ben Donaldson is not a bad option to have. So yeah, well, it'll be an interesting call to see what they do. But I think for now, I'd go with Noah in that 10 position. And then, yeah, for the 9, I think Tim McDermott, I think he just deserves it. At the end of the day, I think he is really the best scrum half of the Wallabies have to offer. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Nick White and Jake Gordon have been excellent servants to the Wallabies and their respective clubs. But I just don't think they're the option that's needed right now. I think Tim McDermott is just a level above them, in my opinion. So that's why I want to see McDermott and Noah Sale as the 9-10 combination here for the Wallabies. For the center combination, this is where I've gone with Hunter Basami, number 12, and Leonard Cattell, number 13. Again, there is still question marks over Hunter Basami if he will be available for selection, because I was actually surprised to see him included in this side in the first place, because I thought he was out for 3 weeks, not 2. But hey, if he's available for this, then I wouldn't mind the idea of Hunter Basami playing, because he is the best 12 the Wallabies have to offer. But if he isn't available for this test, and most likely he'll come into the next test in Wellington, if I just select someone of the 12, I mean, it has to be between Hamish Stewart and David Fawali. And do you give it to David Fawali as a debut against the All Blacks? I think that's too much pressure. I think when you're going back line, I just think you have to go a bit more calmness. And I think Hamish Stewart just look, he didn't have the best of games, let's just say, against the Pumas in that second game. But I thought he looked pretty good actually in that first one that they played. So I want to kind of see him get a go again, and I think he deserves that. So I want to see Hamish Stewart in there if Hunter Basami isn't available. So that's what I would do in that situation. And yeah, Leonard Cattell, I mean, yeah, he's the best 13 the Wallabies have to offer. But I do feel a bit bad for Josh Fluke, because he had a really good season for the Reds, but just hasn't really been able to kind of get any game time really so far for this Rugby Championship. So yeah, he's a player who I want to see get a bit more involved, but I don't know, maybe you put him in the wing. Maybe that's the way you do it. Put him in the 14 jersey to kind of have both Leonard Cattell and Josh Fluke, but I don't know if that's the right idea. I think for now, just keep it as a 12-13 combination there. The outside backs then, this is where they decided to go with Murray Corbett at the number 11 jersey, Andrew Kellaway, number 14, and Tom Wright at the number 15. I think it's the best, I think the Wallabies have to offer in terms of those outside backs. I mean, look, Corey Toole is available for selection. That's probably the big conundrum, I think, for Joe Schmidt is, do you go with Corey Toole ahead of Murray Corbett, or do you go with Corey Toole, I don't know, you shift maybe towards that 14 spot? I mean, there's a lot of things they can do here, but I think Tom Wright is definitely the player they need to have back in this side, because, I mean, look, Kellaway, I think he was so exposed, actually, when you look back at that game against the Pumas in the number 15 jersey. I just don't think I think his better position for the Wallabies is a 14. Like, for the Rebels throughout the year, he was playing mostly at 15. He looked excellent in that jersey. Even 13 at times he played there. But I just think for the Wallabies, he's a better 14, not a 15. And I think Tom Wright is just a 15 hands down. So just keep him there. Keep Tom Wright in the number 15 jersey. And yeah, look, I've got my Murray Corbett in this situation, but I wouldn't mind the idea of Corey Toole, because the Wallabies, you got to be honest, they've had the lowest amount of tries in this competition so far, and they need to get some. So if the option of Murray Corbett isn't working, then you could try Corey Toole here, and I wouldn't mind that at all. So, but I think for now, that's kind of the back three that I'm going here for the Wallabies. So yeah, that's my 15-man squad there. The starting squad. So with the bench then, this is where I decided to go with a 6-2 split. It's a bold call, but I want to see it happen because I don't think the Wallabies have ever done it before. I'd like to see kind of the Wallabies put a bit more pressure on them from the forwards particularly. So that's the reason why I've gone with a 6-2 instead of the normal 5-3 for the Wallabies in this case. And the first name off that bench is James Slipper. He'll become, I believe, the most all-time, kind of cap player for the Wallabies. So that's really the main reason why I've included him there. If they decide not to go with him, I think you'd probably go with Kalea there in terms of that jersey off the bench. But I think just James Slipper is the player to go with in this situation. Following him, this is where I've gone with Brendan Pengamosa. I think he's a player we haven't seen actually involved in this Rugby Championship so far. And he has a lot of experience. He's played for the Wallabies before. He's 28 years old. Why not just put him in there? He's a good, solid player throughout. So I'll go with him there. And then, I finish off in terms of that front row there. I've gone with Tano Tupou there to finish it off. So, I think it's a decent kind of front row there off the bench. In terms of the three other forwards I've selected here, this is where I've gone with Jeremy Williams. Then I've gone with Tom Hooper. And then I finish it off Carlos Lozano as the last kind of forward there. And I think all three of these, I think, can make an impact, really, because I think Jeremy Williams, yes, like I mentioned before, he didn't have the best of games against the Pumas last week, but I think you need a lot of cover in terms of his locks. If I'm deciding to go with 3 locks in terms of my starting lineup here, so I want to have at least Jeremy Williams, who's a certified lock, and then Tom Hooper, who can play 6 or lock, so he can cover both positions. So I kind of like him involved in this team if possible. And then, yeah, Carlos Lozano, I mean, I'll be surprised if Fraser McRae kind of lasts the full 80 because, again, he's only just coming back into the game now. So I think Pisano has to kind of come off the bench for him. But so far, I think that's a good 6. I think that's the 6 forwards I would like to see. And then finish it off, of course, this is where I've gone with Jake Gordon and Ben Donaldson to finish off the 6-2 split. And I think these two are probably the best in this situation because I think Jake Gordon, again, he's a good impact player, I think, for the Wallabies. And I think Ben Donaldson's the perfect player in this situation because he can cover 10 as well as 15. So I like the option of having him there. So that's my 23-man squad there, guys. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on my squad. If you guys agree or disagree, any changes you would make, let me know in the comments. Like the video, guys. Subscribe to our channel. And yeah, see you guys next time.